those of you that I saw your presentations on Friday, it wasn't a ton of people here, I guess, but I thought it was cool. Thanks for showing, sharing. It sucks to what? Does it suck like when you're like standing there telling people about your project? That does suck. Oh. Okay.
Like that was the easy part of it.
I would hate that part too.
Like that was the easiest part.
Like the shirts and like the website. These websites.
It was hard.
Yes, because like
How am I supposed to say? Yeah.
Oh, really?
Like,
if you don't say
literally,
it,
like 5 minutes before we were presenting, I had to like re-enter all my stuff from the website.
Because it just like deleted everything.
Yeah.
like even if your computer dies,
It's gone.
oh my god,
Your computer.
Nope.
It doesn't say. It's not like a Google thing where it saves it.
Robotics website, and
That's
that
why
one
yeah.
saved
So I had like
It depends
re-enter
what
every
you use.
I use it.
All right. Well, I'm sorry.
If your computer dies, it's.
I mean, it is preparing you for college. That's college.
I
So
mean, I know, but it's like there's like 1 day to like.
If your
I know.
computer dies, it's always gone. Whatever you have, it's just gone.
no, not in a Google Doc. A Google Doc, you'd be fine.
Yeah,
That's the,
Google
like-
Doc, but most things I don't think are.
Everything else, you're screwed. Yeah.
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 Okay, so let me just review what we did up here for a minute, and then this graph that we made. So I gave you. I'm saying I think that if I tell you an IQ, you can predict an ACT score. So this is your X and this is your Y. And then I wanted to make this residual plot. So we found the predicted ACT scores by plugging into the equation that we got. We did the ln reg. Some people are looking for ln reg, which I get why. It looks like it's ln reg, but this is like natural log. So it's a whole different ballgame. It's not linear anymore. So make sure you're doing the line reg. And then the residual is what we were just doing up there, the actual minus the predicted. And then we made this plot. So the thing about this plot, and the reason it's important, the reason the APU test will want you to know it, if this plot, so let's write it out. If plot shows randomness, linear model is appropriate. So if these points are scattered, which these are, then a linear model is appropriate. Like a line is the best situation. It's not some curve. It's not a parabola. It's not like e to the x. It's not any kind of curve. It's the best way you can fit this data is to use a line. Linear model is appropriate. If residual plot shows a clear residual plot shows a clear curved pattern, and I mean like blatantly obvious, like a linear model is not appropriate. So let me talk for a second about why. So I'm going to put some numbers in here, see if you can figure out my pattern. I don't think it's too hard. What am I doing? You can't even see it. How did you know that? You couldn't even see anything. You just guessed. So is that a linear pattern where it'd be y equals mx plus b, or is that a parabola, like a squared pattern where you're squaring the x values? That's a squared, right? So if I graphed that, I forgot to do zoom stat. There. That's a curve, right? Clearly a curve. Well, I can still try to force it to be a line, and I can get it to calculate this equation. So that'd be 9x minus 15. And then I could graph that equation. And I can kind of get a line through it, right? But line is not the best fit. Like, is the line the best way I could fit that data, or would the curve be better? Curve would be better. Well, if you look at the residual plot, basically that is your residual plot. You know what I mean? Because if you just turn it sideways, you end up like that's what this graph would look like. When you turn it sideways, it just turns into a residual plot. Like, it's the exact same situation. So, is that residual plot random, or is that a clear curved pattern? That's a clear curved pattern. So if I look at this residual plot, I mean, it's going like that. And why is it doing that? Because what did the original points do? A clear curved pattern, right? So if you see that, and it's got to be like blatantly obvious. They're almost always scattered in this class. So if it's blatantly obviously curved, then a linear model is not best. And we wouldn't have to go on with that. Like, instead, 2 in college, you'd be like, okay, well, what is the best? Let's find it and try all these different things. But in here, we just stop. Is it linear, yes or no? Okay, so go to the back. I guess I just gave you the answers to these 2 questions. But it's not going to hurt to write it out again. What does it mean if the residual plot shows a curve? Linear model, not appropriate. What does it mean if the residual plot shows randomness or no pattern? Linear model is appropriate. What does it mean if the residual is positive? So that is what I put up on the board before. So don't say it is above the line. I know that you know what's going on if you say that, but it's not a good enough answer. So this would be the actual y is bigger than predicted y. Instead of is bigger than, you could do this if you want. Greater than. So like the residual is negative, you could say actual y is less than predicted y. Or you could like write out is less than, it doesn't matter. And then this chart, I meant to put like lines. Print lines here, and I don't know what happened. My computer died and my Wix web page crashed. But I want you to fill in that table. I'm not going to start you on it because I want you to kind of process through it. But in a couple minutes, if you're stuck, just wait a couple minutes and I'll do like a couple with you. But I want you to try to start it before that. So you're doing the thinking instead of me. Do you see the equation up here? So test 2 hat equals 0.95 times test 1 plus 10. It's just this equation over and over again. I just gave you different, like I gave you the y in some cases, and I gave you the residual in some cases. It's kind of making you work back and forth through some of these. This is the equation you're using for all of it.
Can't see that.
Yeah, so the example is giving you the equation. So I'm not sure what it is. Is that better? I can see everything. It's supposed to be like in this entire example, this is the equation. You smell what I'm stuffing in? So there's the first two, so you can check them. And in a second, I'll talk through how I got them, but I don't want to yet. How many have those first two rows correct? Okay. So let me just talk through what I'm doing. If you're stuck, listen up. If you're not stuck, then keep going. I'm to get this predicted test 2. All I'm doing is typing the actual test 1 into this equation, and that'll give me the predicted. And then once I know the predicted, I'm looking over here and I'm just putting the residual. I know 2 of these 3 things at that point, so I'm putting those in and I'm just doing algebra to find the third. I'm sure that helps enough. Are we good? Are we making sense?
Yeah.
If it's not, let me know. I didn't really teach that. I just gotta sit through it. See, I know these, that's cool. And then, so like this, these are the residual y, y hat. So this is the actual, which is y. And it's just like I gave you different stuff each time. Which one? Like this one? Yeah, so this one I gave you. So I gave you. Good. Good, right? So here's what I got. Just so you can check them as you're going through. Needs, you agree?
I agree.
I'm sorry about that.
I was trying to do the corrections and I was like,
Thank you
my
for-
test.
Oh, see, I did my test.
Oh, you did it without the test. How'd you know you? Oh yeah, you don't need your test.
You have to read
There was somewhere I was confused. And
But
I was
you
like,
need your test for like help.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
'Cause I like.
I was just kind of looking on a fair game.
So, like, I think it was Friday. I looked at it and I was like, I'm not gonna let these vitamins like 2 weeks ago. I just threw them in the recycle. I'm glad they're still there. Sorry about that. Thank you for bringing it.
I just saw this like stack.
There you go, Violet.
What is that?
I have like yours is stapled to mine.
Did they get confused? This is mine.
Sorry, because mine was ripped apart.
I was looking through it and I was like, that's not my handwriting.
I don't need that.
Wait, what is it?
I already took it.
They were like stapling.
Oh.
That's the video.
If I already took my retake and I throw it out. Finally, tired of my
No, I just wanted to.
I just want to make sure I did
You do not. I just showed you back one time.
I forgot about that retake.
Well, because you did it like right away.
Well, then I'll forget about it.
All right. Any questions on this table here? All right. Go to the next page. And I'm going to give you, it says like use the height shoe size equation on the board. But that's obviously not on the board anymore. I think the year I did this, I remember that, we didn't do it on the board, did we? I did all the stuff on the height shoe size on the board and left like everything up there for the whole unit. But I did not do that this year. So the equation you're going to use is y hat equals 0.04x plus 9.2, where y equals shoe size, x equals height. I want you to use that to answer parts A, B, C, and D there. So same thing you're doing, but it's a little tougher when it's not a table because you don't see like the patterns, you know. Kind of makes you think through it separately each time. Or does that matter? So now you know enough to do the con, in theory, hopefully. And I think it's due, I think I might do Friday. And you're going to have a test Friday. We'll check it Monday. And then you jerks have a half day on Tuesday. Well, I'm here until 8 o'clock.
I don't even have to come Monday. Do we have to use the 12 when you place them?
The 12?
I use the 16.
You use the 12 as your actual Y value, so you use it when you find the residuals.
Oh.
when it says interpret, remember always include context and everything. Like that first one's 0.2, right? Hopefully you got 0.2 for your residual. And then that means they have a shoe size 0.2 bigger than predicted, or 0.2 larger than expected, or something along those lines. Include the context. Yeah. No, this is the actual. That's like the data point. And then when you plug into this equation, the hat always tells you the predicted. Hat is second. Oh yeah. Yes. Most days my goal is to get through a class without Maya correcting me.
Then I didn't know if I was right, so I was like scared to correct you.
Yeah, my bad. And then C and D, I think it's super helpful if you write down the equation every time. Some people can do it without, just kind of like, oh, I know I'm bigger, smaller, kind of thinking through it. But I think that just the safest way to do it is write down residual equals y minus y hat, plug in what you know, and then it's just algebra. So we'll do a little more stuff with residuals tomorrow, and some frappies, and then we'll start reviewing. We're basically done with the chapter, but it's all just more practice and review stuff. And then your test is going to be Friday. And you guys were a little ahead of 5th hour, so we're done today. 5th hour, we'll probably go like to the bell to do this stuff. You guys are all set. What's the what? That's y hat. And I got y hat by plugging in 72 to the equation.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it all wrong.
Does that make sense?
I thought you did the 72, and you did 33 plus this.
So you got to make sure you're comparing y value. 72 is their x value, and you got to find the y value, the predicted y value that goes with it. Like you're saying a 75 size shoe, you know, that doesn't really fit. So if you want to use this time to start your con, go for it. If you don't, then it's fine. If you want to sleep, good night.
You have all your pieces now.
I think I'm